Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Festive cheer on Dalal Street. Sensex and Nifty clocked the biggest weekly gains in 4 months, hitting their highest level in a year. Nifty Bank hits a record high even as mid-caps underperform. Gold prices on course for the biggest weekly gain since 2008. International prices crossed the $4,300 mark. Silver prices also rise as demand remains robust in India on the eve of Dhanteras. Analysts expect Reliance Industries to post a healthy second quarter growth, likely to be led by the oils to chemicals business, with Jio and retail chipping in. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal rules out free trade agreements at any cost, saying those days are gone. Also calls out Indian industries for resisting minor import competition and terms it a weakness. U.S. Chamber of Commerce sues the Trump administration over the $100,000 fee imposed on H-1B visas. Industry body argues the fee violates immigration laws. Indian nationals account for 70% of H-1B visas. Hours before a scheduled meet with the Ukrainian president at the White House, Trump agrees to meet Putin in Hungary. Trump calls the phone call a productive one. Zelenskyy is likely to make the case for more missiles at the White House later today. Supreme Court refuses to restrain Natco Pharma from selling the generic version of Roche's muscular atrophy medicine. Dismisses the Swiss drug maker's plea. Natco Pharma can sell the medicine for below 16,000 rupees compared to Roche's imported price of 6 lakh rupees. India's food safety regulator bans the marketing of sugar-rich food products and beverages as oral rehydration solutions. Dr. Sivarajani Santosh breaks down on camera after winning an 8-year legal battle, resulting in the major regulatory change. Japan's Sumitomo has no plans to increase its stake in Yes Bank beyond the current 25% holding. Shares of Yes Bank decline after Reuters reports Sumitomo is focused on contributing to the bank without taking up an executive role. The Tejas light combat fighter jet manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics in Nasik takes to the skies on its maiden flight. The aircraft will enter service after integration of weapons, radar and fire control systems. All right, let's start with the day's market action. Sensex and Nifty have hit one-year highs, with Nifty Bank also hitting record high. Sensex crossed the 84,000 mark intraday. Mid-cap index relatively underperformed. For the week, Dalal Street rose for the third straight week, with Sensex and Nifty rising nearly 2% each. Realty and FMCG gained the most amongst all sectors, with both indices up 3% each. Prashant Nair brings us all the market action.
Well, it was a week in which at least one of the two frontline indices hit a new all-time high. I'm talking about, of course, the Nifty Bank. The Nifty is not very far behind, a couple of percentage points. Week on week, the Nifty was up about 1.7%. The Nifty Bank was up about 2%. Mid-cap index ending about 1/3% higher, and the small-cap index was down about 0.75%. As far as winners are concerned, I'll get straight to stocks, and this is all, of course, weekly numbers. Nestle was the top gainer. Actually, FMCG came into its own towards the end. Nestle, Asian Paints, of course, consumer name, but that was another one. Mahindra & Mahindra, Adani Ports, Bajaj Finance were some of the winners that we had. On the downside, tech had a decent week the week before, but of course, this week sold off. Infosys, Wipro, TCS were the three big cuts that we had. Relatively speaking, but the three top losers as far as Nifty goes. In the broader markets, lots of names, and I'll of course start with what was up. Whirlpool, big gains on Friday, and for the week it tallied about 19%. Adani Power was up 11% for the week. MapMy India was up about 9%. Angel One ending about 8.5% higher. There was Navin Fluorine 8%, Persistent 7.5%, ICICI Lombard, of course, it was a one-day wonder after the results, 7.5% there. MCX continues its sort of fantastic journey, 7%. Godrej Properties was up about 7% as well. On the downside, some stocks which sold off. Anantraj was down 11%, but it's had a fabulous move. Chennai Petro sold off 10%. SW Solar was down 9%. There was Reliance Power, even after Friday's move higher, it was down about 8.5% for the week. Jindal Saw, Reddington, I mean, those are in the 6 to 7% loss zone. All in all, not a bad week. I mean, I think as we trade through this festive period, the big expectation, of course, is, and I think justly so, that some kind of cooling off will happen with regards to the tiff with the US in terms of trade. And I guess, I mean, that's the last thing which is remaining after all the tax cuts, rate cuts, and everything else which has been done. So will we see something on that front over the next couple of days? I think that remains the big news, big story. If it does happen, will be a perfect Diwali gift. Back to you.
Right. Thank you, Prashant, for that. Well, the bull run for precious metals continues heading into the Diwali week. Gold prices hit yet another all-time high, soaring past the $4,300 mark. The yellow metal is headed for its biggest weekly gain since December 2008. Silver also followed suit to hit a record high of $54. The metal has gained nearly 90% so far in 2025. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has ruled out free trade agreements made at any cost. While speaking at ASSOCHAM, Goyal said that the days of desperate FTAs that would put India at a disadvantage are long gone. He added that India will not negotiate from a position of weakness. He also expressed disappointment at some Indian industries for resisting global competition. When quizzed by business leaders, Goyal declined to discuss ongoing trade negotiations between India and the US.
Gone are the days when India would, for example, since you mentioned free trade agreements, negotiate from a position of weakness. Gone are the days where we would land up doing imbalanced free trade agreements, not really recognizing our own strength, but being in a desperation to do an agreement at any cost, often giving up or ceding more than we get in return.
Right. So this is the latest. Let's talk about more international news coming in. Russian Defense Ministry has said that its forces have carried out a massive overnight strike on Ukrainian gas infrastructure. This infrastructure, which supports Kyiv's military. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy claimed that Russia also launched a barrage of more than 300 drones and 37 missiles in that attack. Ukraine retaliated and struck Russia's Saratov oil refinery overnight. And speaking of President Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian president will visit the White House today for a crucial meeting with US President Donald Trump. The two leaders are expected to talk about the possible supply of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. And speaking of Trump, the US president has said that he plans to meet Russian President Putin in Budapest. This decision was taken after both leaders had a very productive call. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, and I quote, "President Putin and I will then meet in an agreed upon location, Budapest, Hungary, to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end." End of quote. This comes after Trump said he was disappointed in Putin just a few days earlier. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is suing the Trump administration for imposing a $100,000 one-time fee on new H-1B visa applications. Now, the chamber has claimed that this fee is unlawful and will cause significant harm to U.S. businesses. In the lawsuit, the chamber also sought a declaration that President Donald Trump overstepped executive powers by ordering the new fee. The complaint also asked the court to block federal agencies from enforcing the order. The White House responded to the suit by calling the fee lawful and a necessary initial incremental step towards necessary reforms. Indian IT companies have said that the H-1B visa hike will cause minimal disruption. Shares of Oracle rose 3% after the company's optimistic growth outlook and a confirmed cloud deal with Meta. Oracle sees its total revenue growing to $225 billion by 2030, $166 billion from its cloud infrastructure business alone. The tech giant has also forecast revenue from artificial intelligence-powered database to jump eightfold to $20 billion in 5 years. Shares of Yes Bank fell sharply in trade. This after a Reuters report suggested that Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation said that it has no immediate plans to raise its stake in Yes Bank beyond 24.99%. The company's India head said that Japanese lender plans to scale up its India non-bank finance company's business. Now, shares of Hyderabad-based Natco Pharma surged in trade today. This after Supreme Court rejected a plea filed by Swiss pharma giant Roche, which challenged Delhi High Court order on rollout of the generic version of this particular medicine that we are talking about. The drug is used, we're talking about the generic version of Risdiplam. The drug is used to treat spinal muscular atrophy. Ashmit Kumar is here with more on this. Ashmit.
Well, big win coming in for Natco Pharma. The Supreme Court allowing Natco to continue with production and sale of generic version of Risdiplam and dismissing Roche's application against them. Now, here are the facts of the case. The two companies, Roche and Natco, have been locked in a bitter dispute before the Delhi High Court on the patent of this drug, Risdiplam. Roche's version costs 6 lakh rupees a bottle. Natco's generic version costs only 16,000 rupees a bottle. That is what is at the core of this entire dispute. The Delhi High Court had granted an interim order allowing Natco for production and sale, and that is what was challenged by Roche before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, however, today, brief hearing after that, clarifying that it sees no reason to interfere with the Delhi High Court order. It will not come in the way of Natco going ahead with production and sale of Risdiplam. Also going on to say that it will not even restrict exports. So at this point, no restriction, no injunction on Natco Pharma on production and sale and exports of Risdiplam, and this coming as a setback. But the case is not over. This is only on the limited issue of the interim prayer, of the interim relief that has been granted to Natco Pharma. The broader dispute goes back to the Delhi High Court. The two companies will be arguing it out. The Supreme Court has called for expeditious hearing in this matter and an expeditious decision in this case. For now, relief coming in for Natco Pharma.
Right, thank you, Ashmit, for that. India's food safety regulator has banned the marketing of sugar-rich food products and beverages as oral rehydration solutions. Longtime activist of the cause, Dr. Shivranjani Santosh, broke down on camera after winning the 8-year legal battle resulting in the major regulatory change. Shilpa Ranipeta is here with more details. Shilpa.
Well, you know, if you've been buying ORS from a pharmacy when you're dehydrated or down with diarrhea, the FSSAI's latest directive is an important one. Now, India's food regulator has now banned the use of the term ORS on any food or beverage label, even if it is a part of just the brand name or a trademark. Now, this because several Tetra Paks sold over the counter as ORS or ORSL don't actually meet the WHO formulation standards. Now, in its order, FSSAI says that using ORS on a fruit-based, non-carbonated or even ready-to-drink beverage, even with a prefix or suffix, violates the Food Safety and Standards Act, and such labeling, it says, is false, deceptive and misleading to consumers. Now, the regulator has also withdrawn its earlier 2024 order that had allowed companies to use the word ORS in its trademark if they added a disclaimer saying that the product was not WHO recommended. Now, this move follows an 8-year legal battle launched by Hyderabad-based pediatrician Dr. Shivranjani Santosh, who in 2022 had filed a PIL before the Telangana High Court, and she had challenged the sale of beverages branded as ORS but not meeting the WHO formulation standards, warning that such drinks could worsen dehydration instead of actually treating it. Now, the World Health Organization's formula for oral rehydration solutions is very precise. It specifies the exact amounts of sodium, potassium chloride, citrate, glucose needed to rehydrate the body effectively. But many so-called ORS or electrolyte drinks in India that are sold over the counter don't actually match this composition. Now, in India currently, brands that sell ORS or ORS labeled packs include Electrol, Cipla Health, ORSL, all of these. Now, in response to CNBC TV18's query, a Cipla Health spokesperson clarified that Prolite ORS, which is their brand, is a WHO recommended solution, and it also welcomed FSSAI's move, saying that it will bring greater transparency to the market. Now, with the new directive in force, companies will have to relabel or rename all the products unless they meet the WHO standards. But for us consumers, it is important that we looked for the WHO-approved ORS seal before buying any such product over the counter. Now, this was the reaction from the doctor who led the 8-year-long battle. Listen in.
We have won it. The newspaper reported the 1410 order. That wasn't clear, and it said ORS can be used, but they have given a clarification today, and we have won it. They can not only not use ORS, they cannot sell it from today, right now from today. No misleading label with ORS can be sold. We have won the battle.
All right, on that note, time for a short break. Coming up next, a Tejas light combat fighter jet manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics in Nashik takes to the skies on its maiden flight. More details when we return. Welcome back. Here's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. The race to acquire stake in Axis Capital is heating up. Sources have told CNBC TV18 that Kedara Capital and Blackstone have submitted bids to acquire 20% stake in the company. Rachna Dhanrajani joins us now with the details. Rachna, what are your sources telling you?
Well, it is actually Axis Finance, Archana, and sources tell us that sources tell CNBC TV18 that Kedara Capital and Blackstone have submitted bids to acquire 20% stake in Axis Finance, the non-banking finance arm of Axis Bank. There's a strategic player also said to be in the race. Now, the proposed transaction has been scaled down from an earlier plan of selling up to 50% for $800 million to $1 billion to now about 20% for roughly $350 to $400 million. Now, Axis Finance has been drawing strong investor interest thanks to its performance. The company operates across 5 key segments: corporate loans, real estate funding, collateralized lending, MSME and retail finance. As of March 2025, Axis Finance reported a profit after tax of 76 crore rupees, that is up 11% year on year, with assets under finance of close to 40,000 crore rupees. Overall contributing 38% to Axis Bank's total subsidiary earnings. Its AUM also grew by 22%. The loan book expanded at 31% CAGR between FY22 and FY25. And asset quality remained healthy at net NPAs with a 0.37%. Now, we saw Axis Bank's earnings day before yesterday. So in the earnings call, the management said Axis Finance could be classified as an upper layer NBFC under the RBI's scale-based regulatory framework in the future. So Axis Bank also reiterated that any decision on a stake sale or IPO of Axis Finance will be guided by its capital requirements and subject to RBI's final decision. In the meantime, we did write to Blackstone, Kedara and Axis, but haven't received a response yet.
All right. Thank you, Rachna, for that update. Shifting focus now, Bajaj Auto's Managing Director Rajiv Bajaj said the company expects the final approval for the takeover of KTM AG next month. Speaking exclusively to CNBC TV18, Bajaj also described how years of operational and strategic missteps led to KTM's financial troubles.
We are waiting now for the key approval of the Takeover Commission. We understand that this may be forthcoming in November. We were all taken by surprise, I must say. I think most of the industry was quite shocked at how rapidly, this thing developed. And my mind goes back almost 30 years to what my first management guru, Dr. John Wallace, told me, which was simply this, that the single biggest reason for corporate demise is corporate greed. And I have really witnessed this play out at KTM, unfortunately, over the last 12 months in particular.
The indigenous Tejas MK1A fighter jet took to the skies for the first time today at HAL's Nashik facility. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who was present for the maiden flight, also unveiled HAL's newly established third production line for the indigenous fighter jets Mark 1A variant. My colleague Madiha Mujawar gets us more on the latest addition in India's defence arsenal.
A proud moment for Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. I'm at the Ozar Airport in Nashik, and next to me is the Tejas Mark 1A light combat aircraft. This is the first jet produced from HAL's Nashik facility. Remember, HAL has 3 production lines for the Tejas Mark 1A, 2 in Bengaluru and 1 in Nashik. So this Tejas Mark 1A LCA is the first jet produced in the Nashik facility. And earlier in the day, it took off to the skies for a spectacular maiden flight today. It was escorted by the Sukhoi 30 and HTT 40 trainer aircraft. It had some spectacular, impressive maneuvers showcasing its power, its agility and cutting-edge technology in the presence of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, top HAL officials and hundreds of employees in the audience witnessing the proud milestone in India's indigenous aviation journey. We have with us Group Captain Venu, who flew the Tejas Mark 1A a while back. Captain, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC TV18. How did you feel? How was your experience up there?
It's good. Very happy for the third line to come, start functioning. And this aeroplane is the first production out of Nasik. So with this coming on, we should be able to meet the numbers. That's why it is good. Like I told earlier, the Mark 1A is capable, more capable than the Mark 1. It brings new systems, new sensors and new weapons. Apart from, obsolescence and other things being managed. So it's a very important milestone. Good, because you can see the aeroplane carries a IAF tail number. So practically it is, aircraft has already entered IAF, but we have to go through the formalities of completion of certification, their acceptance and those kind. Fly it is a pilot's dream. To operate it is also a pilot's dream. It's a beautiful machine, very capable systems and weapons. Yes, Rafale is in a different class altogether. We can't compare. It's a different aeroplane. But in terms of sensors, systems and capabilities, this is at par with anything else.
Indian Air Force currently has over 500 jets in its combat capability, in its combat fleet. This includes the Su-30, Rafale, the Mirage, MiG-29, Jaguar and the Mark 1. The MiG-29 fleet, after serving for 6 decades, was retired from the Indian Air Force just few days back. So the Indian Air Force is now looking to replenish its combat capabilities and is looking forward to induct the Mark 1A Tejas light combat aircraft. And it all depends on how soon HAL is able to fast track the deliveries. The CMD told CNBC TV18 that they are expecting to deliver, they're expecting to hand over 10 Tejas Mark 1A light combat aircraft to the Indian Air Force in 2025. We will only have to see whether that timeline is met in 2025. In Nashik with cameraman Prashant Ghuge, this is Madiha Mujawar for CNBC TV18.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV18.